This week in Jamaica Now, no malice. Integrity Commission Chairman Justice Seymour Panton dismisses claims the anti-corruption agency is partisan.
They know that Jamaicans know that it is not true.
$100 million worth of cash and other assets seized in a St. Catherine lottery scam operation. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says there is more to Jamaican tourism than the 3 S's. And government releases information on Jamaica's 1990s financial meltdown. I'm Jovan Johnson and this is Jamaica Now. The Integrity Commission this week rejected assertions that the anti-corruption agency is operating in a partisan manner. Chairman of the Commission, retired Court of Appeal President Justice Seymour Panton, led his commissioners in their first appearance before the IC's Oversight Committee of Parliament. The Commission has faced stinging criticism about its work, with some of the strongest claims coming from senior members of the Andrew Holness administration. But Justice Panton dismissed the accusations and pointed out that even Prime Minister Andrew Holness has commended the Commission for its work.
The commissioners have noted over the past couple of years that remarks have been made that the Commission is partisan and that the Commission, that there is malice in its operations. I'd just like to point out that the persons who made those statements know that it is not true. They know that we know it is not true. And they know that Jamaicans know that it is not true. We have on record from no one higher than the Prime Minister that in 2020 he commended the Commission in our Anti-Corruption Day celebration. He said, under the leadership of Chairman, the Honourable Mr. Justice Seymour Panton, the Commission continues to distinguish itself, operating without fear or favour in pursuit of a just and corruption-free society. That was 2020. In 2022, he said that the Commission has done an outstanding job in increasing awareness and understanding of the anti-corruption framework. And as recently as December last year.
Meanwhile, Chairman Panton has faced backlash over jokes he cracked during the appearance before the lawmakers. This was one of them.
I want to add a personal note, Mr. Chairman, if you'll allow me, that back on this question of malice, I have been a lay preacher in the Methodist Church for decades. Malice is not in my makeup. And it is not in the makeup of the commissioners. And there may be persons who need to repent. And they can join me at church, Providence Methodist, any Sunday. I don't know if something is wrong with the water in Parliament, why some people, the moment they get into Parliament, they say certain things and behave a certain way. I don't know if that is it. As a result, I decided that I wasn't going to take the chance of drinking any water here. Another feature, Mr. Chairman, which I'm very serious about, is that because of what has been happening, I personally intend to see if I can meet with Senator Longmore, Doctor, to have a word with her, because it may well be that she needs to have a word with some members of the House.
Dr. Longmore is a psychiatrist. Junior National Security Minister Juliet Cuthbert Flynn has called for Justice Panton to be removed for his utterances. She also demanded an apology from Mr. Panton. And the Director of Investigation, Kevin Stevenson, has outlined the process behind persons being informed that they are being investigated for illicit enrichment. He said when a case is referred to him, it first has to be assessed before any formal probe into alleged illicit enrichment, which is when a public servant fails to explain where their assets are disproportionate to their legal earnings.
For me to, at the start, indicate to the person that you are being investigated for illicit enrichment might be a little bit premature because of what the legislation requires, Section 14.5 of the Corruption Prevention Act. So there is preliminary investigation or in-depth investigation. Now, I would also send a letter to the person once I receive the matter to say that this matter has been referred to me. I will not necessarily say that you are being investigated for illicit enrichment for the same reason I mentioned earlier, at that early stage. Now, once there is sufficient evidence that this person owns assets disproportionate to their lawful earnings, or there is some evidence of it, some indication, a notice is sent to the person. At the head of the notice, I don't have it in front of me now, there it states what section of what legislation the notice is being sent under, and then it would be Section 48 and Section 14.5. And the words illicit enrichment are also in the header of the notice.
And the Integrity Commission has accused Government Member of Parliament Everett Warmington of making false statements about his financial affairs in calling for an audit of the Anti-Corruption Agency. Mr. Warmington made the claims at a meeting of a parliamentary committee on Tuesday.
The issue is, we haven't seen an audit of that department table in this house, but they're spending taxpayers' money. What I need to know, who is responsible for auditing that department to present the report here. The issue is, the Auditor General cannot do it because she's illegally sitting on that as a commissioner, as against what the Constitution provides for. So who is going to provide the audit for that department?
The Integrity Commission would be audited by a private and independent auditor.
Already been acquired?
No, as I said, we provide line item resources.
No. The auditing, you were told that independent auditor will be doing it.
Right,
so my asking is, have you already acquired the service of particular independent auditor?
Remember, again, that's a question that is better directed to the commissions of the Integrity Commission. We provide a line item. We provide a line item of expenditure to the Integrity Commission, and they decide how to use those funds, and they are accountable to the Parliament through the Oversight Committee. So to the extent that you want to hold them accountable, I'd suggest that you use the proper organs to do so.
I expect that the audit, we get an audit report of that department before the next financial year, before the next budget comes here. There's no way we're going to approve another $2 billion for a department that has not been audited for years.
However, the IC has hit back, saying its accounting and financial affairs have been audited every year in its 6 years of existence. It said the 6 audited financial reports have been tabled in Parliament. The IC said the audits were conducted by an independent external auditor whose appointment was approved in writing by the Finance Minister. The Commission said, quote, "It is obvious that some parliamentarians do not read the reports of the Integrity Commission," end quote. Michael Phillips, a senior member of the opposition People's National Party, is to be charged for failing to file his 2022 income declaration with the Integrity Commission. The Integrity Commission's Director of Corruption Prosecution, Keisha Prince-Kamika, recommended the charge in a ruling released this week. Mr. Phillips did not submit his income filing, which was due by March 31 of 2022. He submitted the income filing a day after being notified, but missed the 21-day legal deadline to pay a penalty of $250,000 in June 2023. The director said without paying the fine, the liability could not be discharged. On Tuesday, Mr. Phillips said he paid the fine recently, but did not give the specific date. He said his filing has been certified. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the government has engaged an international consulting firm to lead a strategic initiative to modernize and reposition Jamaica's global image. He made the announcement while speaking at the Sandals Jamaica Love Showcase at the Montego Bay Convention Center on Wednesday. Mr. Holness emphasized that while brand Jamaica remained a globally recognized powerhouse, the time has come for a fresh approach to align the country's image with its evolving potential. The Patterson administration ignored advice from international financial institutions on how to deal with the collapse of Jamaica's financial sector in the 1990s because it would be costly. That's according to Dr. Omar Davies, who served as finance minister during the period. Dr. Davies made the conclusion in a November 19, 2009 written submission to the Commission of Inquiry looking into the financial meltdown. He was responding to more than 40 questions on the government's handling of the crisis. The submission was among dozens of documents released by the Ministry of Finance on Thursday as part of the FinSAC Commission archives. FinSAC, which is short for the Financial Adjustment Company, was the vehicle used by the government to manage the financial crisis. Dr. Davies said the government of the day sought advice from the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank and the Inter-American Development Bank. He said the advice was to allow institutions to fail, exclude their principals from future participation in the financial sector, and pay the depositors out of the proceeds of the sale of the assets that existed. Dr. Davies said to implement the advice, there was a recommendation to close the entire financial system for a period of 2 weeks. He said that recommendation reflected a total lack of appreciation of the implications of such an action and was rejected as impractical. Meanwhile, Dr. Davies said it was a travesty that several owners and senior managers, whom he said egregiously mismanaged the funds of investors and savers during the financial crisis, were seeking to portray themselves as FinSAC victims. Many critics, including Dr. Carl Blythe, the then senior cabinet minister, said a high interest rate policy led to the financial debacle. But Dr. Davies said Jamaica had a major problem related to the predominance of the position of executive chairman in several local financial institutions. He said the position provides the holder with excessive powers and inadequate checks and balances. Meanwhile, despite over $160 million in expenditure, the FinSAC inquiry did not publish a final report. Outgoing Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says the financial crisis and the government's intervention resulted in the government taking on debt worth 40% of Jamaica's GDP. He said it took more than 30 years to resolve. 2 persons were arrested this week in Caribbean Estate Housing Development in Portmore St. Catherine during an operation that led to the seizure of cash and other assets worth more than $100 million. The operation on Tuesday was targeting suspected lottery scamming activities. In custody are a 32-year-old man who the police say is employed as a treasury custodian at courier company Beryllium, and his 32-year-old common-law spouse. She's reportedly a former employee of the company. The police say during the search of the property, law enforcement officials seized over 64 million Jamaican dollars and 317,000 US dollars. 2 guns were also seized. The police also confiscated 4 motor vehicles valued at approximately 17 million Jamaican dollars, as well as 6 mobile phones. The operation was carried out by a team of officers from the Counter-Terrorism and Organized Crime Investigations Branch and the St. Catherine South Division. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner, and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on our YouTube page, turn on your notification, and subscribe today.